has been deeply affected by the lifestyle choices that I have made, by the profession that I have followed, and someone who has enjoyed the benefits and the challenges of the way in which we treat disease. And with that experience, there are some lessons that I've learned, there are some paradigms that I developed, and based on that, and before I knew it, Biopeak was born. And I really want to talk a little bit about that journey and give you a sense of where I came to. You know, all of us in this room, in the modern world, are always on. Lots of stress, lots of activity, traveling across time zones. I think the last time I went to the immigration in Bangalore, the gentleman over there challenged me and said, "Sir, do you know this is your 350th trip outside this country?" So every time I've gone, I've stressed my body, right? Irregular timings, lack of exercise. And I'm sure a lot of you go through similar challenges, right? Especially the entrepreneurs in the Thai world. This is part of our modern life. Always on. And it has a price that you pay. This is me. The price of always on is blood pressure, obesity, stress, potentially leading to heart disease, potentially leading to kidney disease, and so on and so forth. And it happened to me. I had 3 slip discs in different parts of my spine. And finally, in late 2022, my body almost gave way. I went to hospital. I was advised surgery, no less than removing an organ, which nowadays, by the way, I understand is fairly routine. But I refused to listen. And I said, I'm too young to have the surgery that you are asking me to have because I don't want, and that's my personal choice, I don't want the kind of life after surgery that I thought I will have. One thing led to the other, and you heard my co-founder, Shiva, on stage a few minutes back, talking of a different approach that he had been doing for over 10 years. Applying the wisdom that Dr. Saini spoke about in the morning. By the way, he's the chief scientific advisor to the company, of how we can have a preventive, holistic approach tailored to the individual and that can create a different outcome. You heard Rajiv speak about how Ayurveda can get that done. And so the question to my mind was, can this really have a different outcome? If I avoid this surgery, can there be a different way to cure yourself? Well, the answer after 2 years is it can. I am still active. I retained all my organs. I still exercise. I still travel the world. I eat and drink what I want. And the reality is, in between, the wisdom dawned that the little boutique work that Shiva was doing with his fantastic team deserved to scale up. And it was with that desire that we created this company called Biopeak. And I won't call it a company, actually. I'll call it a collaborative platform that welcomes every school of thought, be it Ayurveda, be it traditional Chinese medicine, be it allopathy, or anything else that works for the individual. Because our biggest learning in all of this is that isms and ologies don't matter. What matters is you, who were born with a certain set of genes, who were exposed to a certain lifestyle, who are influenced by the environment in which you live, and strongly molded by your habits. And this combination is so infinite, so vast and varied, that there can be no approach that can be truly effective other than one which is truly tailored to you. Sorry, this is going back. All right. So what I learned first, and I think Rajiv spoke about it beautifully, Ayurveda can tell you 10 years in advance whether you're going to get Parkinson's. The reality is that your body is damn good at hiding disease. You have a potential slip disc, and I'm talking of slip disc because it happened to me, going to happen to you, and other muscles in your spine are compensating, putting pressure in other zones. So you're probably feeling pain in your thigh and in the back of your leg way before you experience a slip disc. And so therefore, this holistic approach unravels where the body is hiding disease. Did it come from your genes? I hear a lot of prescriptions now, your cholesterol hits 200 and a statin is prescribed. But do you need it? Are you genetically predisposed to more cholesterol? We don't ask that question. We say your number is 200, you need a statin. The second one is that small interventions make a big difference. You don't have to run the marathon in order to tell yourself that you're fit. 20-minute bite-sized exercises could work for you, or may not, because you're unique. Maybe cardio doesn't work for you. I think somebody spoke on stage, I forgot who, about fasting, right? And how fasting may actually destroy someone whose body is not geared up to fast. And I read somewhere, and I met some luminaries in some conferences who said that, fasting was designed to get your body into a state of meditation. So if you're fasting on one side and then you're leading this high-impact, global trotting lifestyle on the other, you're probably burning the candle at both ends. So small interventions make a big difference. You don't have to believe that I've got to run the Ironman and swim the English Channel and only then am I fit. And by the way, you may do that and still not be fit. And so a number of people today, based on chasing a fad, are sometimes even losing their lives, and we are blaming things like vaccines. Think about it. The third lesson, which I think is the most important, you are an N of one. What works for your neighbor, what worked for your friend, what worked for 3/4 of the company in which you work for may not work for you. And the day you realize that is the day you give yourself a chance. Is the day you can find for yourself what works for you and remain comfortable in that. This is very important. Many times we are not comfortable unless we do what everybody else is doing. Unless we can show that we too can fast, we too can get away with very little sleep, we too can travel without rest. The reality is, may not be possible. You're unique. Your genes are unique. Your genetic setup is unique. The environment you came from is unique. Your lifestyle is unique. Your habits are unique. And the current state of your body is extremely unique. And your starting point has to be your now, before you go on that journey to really improve. With these three insights, we formed Biopeak. So why now? And a lot of the panelists spoke about this outstanding confluence of factors that makes it the right time. There are advances in genetic science, in regenerative medicine, in the kind of way in which you can process data. There are, by the way, 3,300 scientific papers, and Dr. Saini knows this, that emerge every day. How can any human being keep up with all that information, remain current, apply it in the right way with all the cross-references required in all the complex situations, and yet come up with the right solution for that N of one? It's impossible. But today, technology makes it possible. And I'm not talking of using large language models only. It is a combination of large language models in tandem with symbolic AI that defines the ontology and almost forces the system to think through every possibility. and then having a human in the loop to continuously provide that oversight of human intelligence, which is still unmatched. And we spoke of wearables. I mean, I wear a lot of wearables. I mean, I have one right now. My learning with wearables is their sensitivity to data is all over the place. I would hate it if my doctor used my wearable data to treat me. I have run on this treadmill with 2 different pieces of wearables on 2 different arms, and both of them have given me such widely varying degrees of information at the same time that one told me to stop and the other told me I should push myself more. So what do you use wearables for? You use wearables for compliance. To understand whether someone has done an activity, not necessarily how well that activity has been done. You use a wearable to give someone a sense of habit. So used correctly, it's a great enabler for that journey of health span and longevity that all of us want to go on. But fully cognizant of the fact that you are an N of 1. I think somebody asked I think it was Amit who asked the rapamycin question. You know, the Rapamui doll is there. David Sinclair, you go to Peter Attia. You know, in the West right now, rapamycin at low doses is considered a longevity drug. It's an immunosuppressant. It would be a tragedy if in your quest for longevity you died of common cold in India because you've exposed yourself to pathogens and weakened your immune system. So we can't blindly apply what is being said in the West. And by the way, all the bestsellers that we read are coming from there. There's a higher chance, and sorry to say this, but there's a higher chance of all of us in this room having read and imbibed David Sinclair than there is of us having read the book on Ayurveda or a book that is about India. And that's where I think Biopeak is driving this partnership with the Indian Institute of Science to make sure that we can test, we can imbibe the knowledge that is being generated about Indians, for Indians, by Indians, so that the treatment protocols, the diagnostics can be designed around us. Grip strength, another big thing in the West now. If you don't have this grip strength, you're not going to live long. The number 1 precursor for your longevity in the West now is your grip strength. But hey, as Indians, our grip strength follows a different scale. Where is the scale developed for Indians? So this is why we not only need an N of 1, but we also need an India-specific program. And it is this combination that we are trying to build at Biopeak. And the system is really designed around understanding you from a whole lot of different lenses, from your genetics, from your gut, to your microbiome, to your metabolites, to your biochemistry, to your blood, your here and now, to your natural tendency that was gifted to you, shaped by your environment. And from there on, there's a cross-functional team of people designed to be working with you to get the outcome you want. By the way, if you think about it, all of us do all of this piecemeal. You know, we go to a doctor who treats us. We go to the gym and do some exercise. We do something else with a nutritionist. We do something else with a physio. We're just trying to bring it all together. I think the thinking is changing from looking at everything to do with our health in a piecemeal way to bringing it all together. And then when you bring it all together, you try to drive an outcome with constant interventions. And it's not a magic wand. You don't get it right the first time all the time. I mean, you may, but it's an iterative process. So you need somebody who sits with you like your wealth manager. You need a health manager to bring it all together. And that's where I think the future of longevity is going. By the way, we are not the only company in the world doing it. There are companies in the United States, there are companies in Europe, there are companies in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, wherever you go. This is the start of the movement, which I believe 20 years from now will be the way in which all medicine is practiced. We are at the Model T moment. We are at the Wilbur and Orville Wright moment. But the future is clearly moving in this particular direction. So, we spoke about this, longevity, health span, life expectancy. Our idea with Biopeak is to build the health span journey. I want to continue to be free of a wheelchair, relying on my own 2 feet, relying on my own brain, relying on my ability to interpret the world without any external support as long as I live. That's how I define health span. And Biopeak is trying to do this journey with the right amount of data, but then with the right interventions, duly personalized for Indians. This is the journey we are on. I invite you to also come outside and see what we are all about. Don't believe us. Come and partner with us. And by the way, as I said, we are an open collaborative platform. We are not saying that this is based on a certain science and so therefore all other science is bad. We are saying all science is relevant as long as it works for the individual for whom it is intended to work. So with that, I will give you back 3 minutes and 33 seconds of your time. So you can enjoy a more wholesome lunch. Of course, I'm happy to take any questions, or we are also around when you want. Yes, sir.
Do you know, throw some light on any work on breathing patterns? Because we start, when our birth is there, we start breathing and we leave the breathing when we die. So is there any longevity work which is related to the speed of breathing or optimal breathing pattern, which can be easily practiced?
Yeah, so you heard my co-founder. It's definitely a part of how you will sort of improve yourself, how you bring your body into the state of homeostasis. It's also part of how you, how you can improve various parts of your performance. But I'll just expand this a little bit, and I'll take your rejoinder question later. And Shiva spoke, my co-founder, he spoke of, we ask people to fill a questionnaire. You know why we do that? Not because we want more data. We do that because how you were born, including whether you were a cesarean, breech baby, etc., has implications of how your body today is. I would have had 3 more surgeries. By the way, my surgery count right now is 0. But I would have had 3 more surgeries in my brain if people didn't know I was a breech baby. So the point I'm trying to make is these aspects of your body, how you were born, how you breathe, what your movement patterns are extremely important to us. But for your specific scientific question, I'm going to defer to my co-founder Shiva, who's there. And we have a module, and maybe Shiva, you want to answer his question on breathing and how it impacts your healing? Come.
Actually, I put that question because there is some evidence like blue whale lives for 300 years or 200 years, where that particular animal's respiration pattern is something very interesting.
Yeah.
30 minutes inhale, 30 minutes exhale, and within water and outside water.
Let me take that question. Actually, what we figured out is that when we're doing the neurofeedback and the biofeedback, everybody's breathing is completely different. And interestingly, what we also found is that the way that they breathe also shows up in the metabolites and the way the mitochondria works. So technically, that's why we have so many methodologies of breathing, because what is relevant to you is not relevant to somebody else. In fact, you take Wim Hof breathing, and if you have a really high amount of cortisol, people get into a panic state with that kind of hyperventilation, which is logical, right? But for a certain section of society, it seems to work wonderfully if you have low cortisol levels. So then it's situational, isn't it? It's exactly like what Rishi was trying to point out. It's like, is there one breathing pattern that's going to work? No, but we know that breath holds are really good as a longevity, what do you call, metric, right? Because if you're able to hold so much of, I suppose if you're able to pass that carbon dioxide threshold and hold it, that means your respiratory system is excellent, right? So that's how free divers, for example, they're all epitomize this kind of mechanism of breathing, right? And what we do is we have all those different ones, but we borrow a lot from Ayurveda, from the other practices that we have, because we figured out the one side doesn't fit all, and we actually have to adapt it according to what is actually happening. Are you a mouth breather? But if somebody has a sinus issue, maybe they're breathing from the mouth, so then you have to go back to sort out the sinus issue before you can say do alternate nostril breathing. I mean, just giving you an example of what real-time cases we come in. So it's so difficult to say there's a one-size-fits-all. We actually have to get to the what and then look at the data to say, yeah, this is what's working.
So one kind of thoughts comes to my mind. That's why I'm sharing, very important. From the sports perspective, when particular sprint, like 100 meters run, somebody is running, and somebody is running marathon. We know that the marathon person is more healthy.
I'm done.
In terms of the kind of...
I don't think so, because according to the data, it depends on whether you have a type 1 fiber, type 2 fiber, what your actual sports disposition is. If you look at Usain Bolt, you're not going to say that, Usain Bolt is not as healthy as somebody like Kipchoge, right? I mean, you can't really say that.
If you look at cricket, spin bowlers and fast bowlers tend to have more injuries very fast. And I have seen also...
But they're doing something unnatural. Just to say that.
No, I'd love to continue the dialogue after. Sorry, guys, your 3 minutes 33 has come. I've taken it back. But on that happy note, I wish you all a great life. Thank you.